So I had the phone number, went back to work. My really good friend was like, you better call her. You can use my phone, but call her. So I called her. She answered. I'm going to use aliases. And the conversation went like this. May I please speak with Barbara? This is Barbara. Barbara, this is Shirley. Shirley who? This is Shirley Jones. I am the wife of Legion. Silence. Then she starts laughing. And she said to me, and I quote, "If you were calling me, then I know it's bad." I chuckle and I said to her, I'm not trying to bother you. I'm not trying to disrupt your life. I said, I am literally coming to you on some woman to woman shit. I said, because you are probably the only person who can help. She listened. She was gracious. And she said, what is it that you need to know? Or what is it that you want to know? And I said, I understand that you and my husband talk and communicate. And she immediately said, what? No, we don't. And I said, okay. She said, one thing you need to know about Legion. She said, whatever he tells you, it is a lie. And she said, let's go back to part 1. I told you guys that when he introduced himself, or when we met, we actually had matched on 2 different sites. And he was under 2 different names. One was like the actual birth name. The other one was a nickname variation of that name. That's the name I know him by. So for example, if his name was Matthew, he had a profile under Matthew, and then he had a profile under Matt. I would have known him as Matt. So she said to me, she was like, I don't even know who Matt is. She was like, that's not even his name. And so I knew what his actual government name, and she was like, no one calls him Matt. She was like, that must be his new personality. Or she was cracking a joke, but she was like, anything he tells you, you need to know is a lie. So I just asked her, I said, what was your experience? I said, because I can tell you the story he told me. And she stopped me right there. She said, whatever he told you was a lie. She said, let me guess. He told you I cheated on him. Let me guess. He told you that I wanted money from him. And I said, yeah. And she said, yeah, that's a complete lie. So we had a conversation where she told me how they met. They didn't meet online or anything. I said, well, were you guys ever in California? She said, no. She's like, she was like, that man ain't never been past the East Coast. So I said, okay. So you guys have always been in Georgia? And she said, yeah. She's like, we got married in Georgia and we got divorced in Georgia. And that's when she asked me, how did you even get my number? She said, because I want nothing to do with him. So how did you get my number? I said, I'm going to tell you the truth. It ain't going to make me look good. I told her, I said, this is what happened. And this is what led to me doing research. And this is how I got your number. And she laughed. She was like, wow. She was like, normally I would be freaked out. She said, but under the circumstances, she was like, wow, okay. She said, yeah, if you're calling me, then it must have gotten pretty bad. She said, so what did he promise you? And we talked for about 35 minutes. She asked me in that phone call, she said, look, I want nothing to do with him. I have not spoken to him since our divorce was finalized. She said, so I would just appreciate if you keep me out of whatever's going on with y'all. And I told her, I said, I give you my word, I will never tell him I spoke to you. I said, I give you my word. I said, this conversation is for me. It is not for me to use in any sort of legal litigation, nothing. This is for me. And I said, I don't plan to call you again. I don't plan to be a disruption in your life. I just needed to know, how bad is it? And she paused and she said, it's bad. She said, I don't know what all y'all got going on. She said, but if it's anything like what it was for me, it's bad. So we talked a little bit more. She was very encouraging. She was like, girl, do not blame yourself. She said, I went through that and I had blamed myself. She was like, this is not on us. This is on him. She was like, he is a master liar, a master manipulator. She said, I ignored the red flags. So she was like, do not feel as though this is on you. We talked about there's an ex-girlfriend that shares the same name as his aunt. She and I talked about her. She said the reason why they broke up, because the ex-girlfriend, I didn't know this, the ex-girlfriend had reached out to her about 6 months before he met me. And so the ex-girlfriend lived in Douglasville. On Legion's driver's license, he had a Georgia driver's license with the Douglasville address. What he told me was that it was the address that his sister, because remember I told y'all his sister Shantae lives in Douglasville. She's a nurse, married with 2 kids. So he told me that the address on his license, it was his driver's license, was to Shantae's house. The ex-wife is telling me, no, that's the address for the ex-girlfriend. He had moved in with her and he created this whole narrative with her. She found out that he was lying and she kicked him out. And so I guess after she kicked him out, she then reached out to the ex-wife, kind of the way I did for confirmation. And so the ex-wife was just telling me, whatever that man has told you, it is a lie. She said, I got out before it got too bad. She said, because once I knew he was lying, I was out. She was like, because he's never going to change. And so, again, conversation went on. And so finally, we were getting ready to get off the phone. And before we got off the phone, I said to her, I said, if everything is a lie, I said, I have one question for you. And she said, sure. I said, how is your daughter? I said, how is your daughter? Mary. So I asked her, how is your daughter? She said, my daughter's fine. And I said, okay. She said, what did he say about my daughter? And I will be honest with y'all, I didn't have the heart to tell her. So what I said instead was, oh, no, it was, with everything with COVID, I think he mentioned that she might have had COVID or was exposed to it. I downplayed it bad. I wasn't going to tell that woman that he said her daughter passed away. So I said, obviously I'm glad to hear that kids are fine. She said, look, whether you stay with him or not is your choice. She said, he ain't going to change. He ain't going to change at all. She said, this is what he does. She said, you're not the first. You're not going to be the last. She said, he did it to me. She was very, very encouraging because she was just like, you do not blame yourself. She said, we both ignored red flags, but it is not your fault. She said, this is on him. And so we, once again, I thanked her for her time, got off the phone. I took the long way home that night. I could not be around him. I could not be around him. I had to figure something out. I had to figure some things out. So I took the long way home. What does that mean? It means that I probably could have taken 75 to 285, but I probably took 20 to 75 to 285 to 675 kind of like I just took the long way home. A couple of days later, because my mind was spinning. A couple of days later, at this point, I'm turning into the FBI, CIA, and Homeland Security all in one. Literally. I'm trying to find everything. And he's carrying on his business as usual. Nothing changed with him. He had no idea that I had spoken to the ex-wife. He had no idea I had gone to the court and saw his divorce documents. He had no idea. So a couple of days later, I decided to look up his mother's obituary. Look up the mother's obituary. And down at the bottom where it talks about, she's preceded in death by, and it lists all the people, the family members that died before. And then it says, leaving behind to cherish her memory. It lists the husband, her husband. Let me start over. It lists her husband, which is Legion's dad. It lists Legion's brother that lives in Philly and his wife, because again, this is she passed away in 2015. So it lists Legion, the brother in Philly, and his wife and daughter, her granddaughter. It lists Legion and his wife, I think it was like Latoya or Le something. It did not list the ex-wife I just spoke to. And it clearly said Legion, his wife, Latoya. Then it listed the brother in Nashville, his wife, Jane, or whatever. So I'm thinking to myself, there's two things I was thinking immediately. Number one, who is Latoya? Never heard that name before. So I was thinking, who was Latoya? And then number two, where are the two sisters? Shantae and Kim. Shantae lives in Douglasville, married with 2 kids. Kim lives in Augusta, and I believe he told me she worked at like Procter and Gamble. So why aren't they listed on here? Because apparently, go back to the video. I posted it on there. I gave y'all background on the family. He apparently was one of 5 through both parents. Brother in Philly, older brother, younger brother in Nashville, an older sister in Douglasville, and a baby sister in Augusta. So why is it on his mother's obituary there's only 3 children named? Where are the 2 sisters? So I'm even more like, what in the hell's going on? And then I started thinking to myself, why wouldn't they list Shantae? Like, they talk all the time, so I know that they're close because he talks to Shantae all the time. So I really was confused. Again, keep in mind, I'm trying to give y'all insight into how I was thinking May of 2021, because I still didn't find out a lot of stuff at that time. I found out enough to figure out, okay, it's not a question of if he's lying. That was over. It's not a question of if he's lying. The question now is becoming, what else is he lying about? So we had the phone call with the ex-wife. Now I see an obituary that apparently there's another wife. I know on our marriage certificate, it only states he had one previous marriage. I had 0, he had 1. So this is how I'm thinking in my head, which is, okay, what am I missing here? I know we've established that he's lying, but who the fuck is Latoya? Like, I'm really trying to understand who is Latoya. And again, he's hobbling around the house, limping, and I'm in our in the bedroom, I could not get on Google fast enough to try to figure some stuff out. So, see the mom's obituary, study it, and at this point, I'm now trying to figure out, okay, what's the game plan? What is the game plan? So I'm going to use this as a clarification video. So we're going to use part 30 as a stop. Let's clarify some things. I've done that before on a previous set of videos, so I think it's just important to do that so that way I can try to address some of the things that I have seen in the comments, both supportive and just downright mean. But let me clarify some stuff. Number one, it is important to remember that I am telling this entire story of how I met, dated, married, and divorced my pathologically lying ex-husband. I am going in chronological order of events. So what that means is that, ma'am, sir, whoever you are, if you were coming in at part 30, but you have not seen part 11, some stuff is not going to make sense. I know. It is a long playlist. And don't worry about watching the video as soon as it comes out, because everything, I'm trying to do this responsibly of telling the story in the order of which things happen. So I say that to say, please, if you're able to, start at the introduction disclaimer video. Start with part 1 and then just watch each video, because a lot of the questions people are having that I'm seeing in the comments, and I say this respectfully, is just because you did not go to the other videos and watch them in order. That's just the first thing I want to say. It is important that I get this story out, but that it's done, like I said, responsibly. To me, responsibly is being honest, even if it makes me look bad, but then also trying to be clear and not ramble all over the place. So I'm trying to take the time to tell you, this is what happened at this time. This is what happened at that time. That's why there's so many parts. And we're not even to the part of the divorce yet. We're almost there, but we're not there yet. Second thing I want to clarify. I cannot stress this enough. My family and my friends did not know what was going on between Legion and I. They did not know. My family only knew, we've met this guy. He's dating our daughter, our niece, our cousin, our granddaughter. He seems to be a really nice guy. He seems to really love her. From what he has told us, he's done well for himself. He played football. And he has worked at this company 6-7 years. And financially, he is in a good place. From what we understand, he just moved here from California. That is what they knew. They did not know about the red flags I had. They did not know what was going on in my head. They did not know what was going on in my heart, because I did not want to look stupid. I'm fully aware that when I tell this story, I look stupid. I'm aware, and I've made my peace with that. But at the time, I did not want to look stupid. So it was important to me to put on everything's great. We're really happy. We're looking for a house and everything's going well, knowing full well that behind the scenes, I couldn't figure out why he wasn't showing proof of funds. They did not know. So I say that to say, I see the comments about how my aunt gave me horrible advice when I called her about the sexting on Facebook. And I want to clarify something. She did not tell me to stay with him. She did not tell me to leave him. That's not her place, and that's not what she would do. She simply was in shock that any of this had happened and did not know what to give me advice on. The one thing that she did say was, look, he's not your boyfriend. Meaning, it ain't as simple as, oh, we just gonna break up. Pack your shit and go. Because you married him. My aunt is the most ride or die chick I've ever met. And she is straight Jersey. So I love her for it. But I needed to, it's not fair for me to leave it out there as if, oh, she just was like, girl, I mean, go home and deal with it. No. Never in a million years. So I want to clarify that. Also want to clarify about my mom. So my mom lived in Arkansas, and when she came to visit in April, we were already married. This is her first time physically meeting Legion. My mom will tell you she had no idea anything was amiss, but there was something that nagged her a little bit. She didn't know what it was, and my mom is the type where she's going to get on her knees in prayer. That's who she is. So for her, it was like, I don't know what it is. He seems like a nice guy. He seems to love my daughter. Because again, there was no arguing in the house. The house was peaceful while she was here, even though behind the scenes, we had just came off of the whole sexting incident with other women. So for her, it was like, I don't know what it is. She did tell me later on that it seemed as if I wasn't as happy as she thought I would have been. But again, she took it to the Lord in prayer. And her prayer was, God, protect my child. I don't know what's going on, but protect her. That was my mom's response. So she did not know, she did not pick up or overhear something that was going on while she was here. She had a candid conversation with Legion, and Legion kind of came across as, I miss my mom. He missed his own mother, and so he called my mom, and doted on her. Again, putting on a charade. And so for her, it was like, bless his heart. That's what she said. Bless his heart. But no, she did not know the specifics. Nobody knew the specifics. They didn't know the specifics until we're talking May, June of 2021. They knew that we were looking for a house. They knew that the house fell through. They did not know about the proof of funds. They did not know that he wouldn't show me the savings account, the offshore account. So I just want to say that because to me, it would be irresponsible to not clarify what family and friends knew. Because these people have always been supportive of me, always had my back. I just simply did not share with them the things that I felt like were red flags, because again, my mindset at the time was, I want to be married, and what if he isn't lying? And I was making excuses for him to myself, so I definitely would have made excuses to family. Another thing I need to clarify, and I saw the comments on this about how a VP would never date someone that looked like me, and to the person that wrote it, that wasn't very nice. I need you all to understand, the relationship started in March of 2020. He came into my life as regional manager. Okay. That is how he came into my life. Then eventually he got promoted to VP of production or operations, some VP of something. That was later on in the relationship. He showed me the paperwork where it was basically a memo from HR. Your new position title will be VP of production. We'll just say production. Your salary, I don't remember the exact amount because it was a very specific amount, but it was over $200,000. It listed some of the benefits that he would have. He would have an office. He would be getting an executive assistant. That's where we get David from. If you don't know who David is, please go back and watch the series in order. He would be getting an executive assistant. He would be getting use of the company helicopter. He would be getting a company car. That is where we're introduced to the fact that he was starting to shop for a company car that could not be more than $90,000. That's what he told me. I didn't see this in the memo, the amount of the car, but that's what he told me. So that's where you get the car shopping for the Range Rover, the Jaguar, the BMW. He even test drove a Mercedes GLE, I believe. So I'm just trying to, again, bring some clarity to this so that way we all can understand what's going on. And hopefully this just makes a lot more sense for everyone. All right. So I found his mother's obituary online. It then told me it listed his brother in Philly and his wife. It listed Legion, and then it said his wife. I took the name from the obituary and I did a Metro Atlanta court search with that name. I found a divorce record. I found a divorce record with Legion and the same woman's name that was in the obituary. In that divorce record, it looks like he's the one that filed for divorce. This would have been around 2016. This was after the mother's death. He filed for divorce. She was the respondent. I think that's the correct terminology. Both had a temporary protection order against each other. He had one against her. She had one against him. The divorce ended up getting granted, finalized. Then it looks like he went on his way. In the course of the search for her name, I discovered that at one point in time, the two of them had lived in Rhode Island. So that's the connection with Rhode Island, because for the longest time I could not figure out who lived in Rhode Island. That's where that came from. The two of them, he and this woman, lived in Rhode Island several years prior, or a few years prior. I could not find the obituary for his dad. I searched and I searched. I could not find the obituary for his father. For whatever reason, I knew his grandmother's name. I just randomly decided to do a Google search of the grandmother's name. Initially, nothing came up because I was looking for the grandmother's name in Philly. Nothing came up. I looked for the grandmother's name down here in Georgia. Found a record, but it wasn't quite clear. What was clear was that she had died several years prior. So what I found was a different website where it was like a legacy.com type thing. So I believe legacy.com holds old obituaries. Did a search for her name, found a match. That is when I discovered that she actually had passed away in July of 2008. Read the caption of the obituary and verified that in fact it was his grandmother. Because at the bottom of it, again, obituaries tell you a lot. It names who she leaves to cherish her memory. So it lists all the different family members. It lists the brother in Philly. It lists Legion, no spouse, and then a brother in Nashville. Once again, it did not list the two sisters, Shantae and Kim. So I'm even more like, okay, clearly, something, is up when it comes to Shantae and Kim. But what I do know is that he has talked to them multiple times in front of me. So I'm not sure what I'm missing. Maybe some family feud happened. I don't know. So that is how I discovered that when he told me the grandmother died from COVID and he was crying, boo-hooing and all that shit, she actually had died in July of 2008. I found this out the same time that I found out about allegedly, and I say allegedly because I'll explain, allegedly the first wife, or at least what I think is the first wife. So while all this is going on, Legion is almost bedridden from what happened with his knee. And I need to take a moment to address this issue with the knee. Again, the story started, he hit his knee. Then it turned into, it was an old football injury. And this has happened before. He's going to the doctor. The doctor's telling him to ice it and to elevate it. He eventually moves into the guest bedroom to be more comfortable. I'm going to make this statement. This is probably the only time I will make this statement. He was not lying about the injury that he had. I don't know where the injury came from, but what I do know was he was not lying in the fact that he was in pain. You could clearly see that he was in pain, and the pain was becoming debilitating. Please understand what I'm saying. The pain was debilitating enough to where he was taking my pain meds from when I had the miscarriage. And then also it was hard for him to walk. He was not eating. So this is what made me believe this, whatever was going on with the knee, there was more to it because he was not eating. When I met this man, he was a size 3X. At this point in time in May, he's down to a 2X. He is not exercising. He is not doing anything mobile. He's simply not eating. So there definitely was something going on, something concerning. Honestly, I thought it might have been cancer. But he kept saying, no, it's not that. It's from a football injury. It's from a football injury. I said to him, the next time you have a doctor's appointment, I want to go. It was that bad. And he kept making excuses like, okay, fine, I'll make the appointment. I'll let you know what it is. Cool, I will take off work. I want to be at that doctor's appointment because whatever is going on with you is serious to the point where you are losing weight rapidly within a 2-week span. So now we can go ahead and enter into June. When we enter into June, I have read the divorce documents for not one wife, but 2 wives. I have called San Diego State, verified they have no record of him. He claims he was a private citizen. I don't believe that. They're saying there's no record of him. I have pulled his background. It is showing that you've lived in Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, and Georgia. When I look at the addresses, it is tied to at least 2 women, both of whom I'm showing divorce records on file that you had. I've also verified that your grandmother actually died in 2008 and not in 2020 from COVID. I know all of this as I'm going into June. His birthday is June 17th. So all I've been doing is just trying to figure out what is it I'm going to do. I spoke to the pastor and his wife. I believe it was actually the pastor I spoke to because I knew the pastor previously before he did our marriage counseling. And I told him what I found. Mind blown. Mind blown. Had no idea. He knew something was up. He knew that Legion was not really trying to make this marriage work. He had no idea all this was going on. So he asked me, are you wanting to stay or do you want to end the marriage? I said, oh, absolutely, I'm ending it. Oh, hell yeah, I'm ending it. I have to. I have to end it. I have no idea who that man is in my guest bedroom. Not to mention, on top of all of this, he had lied about the death of the ex-wife's daughter. All right. So we're now in June. By this point in June, I have been offered the new job, accepted it, put in my 2-week notice at my previous job, and was going to be starting the new job later on in the month. So when he laughed where I told him I wanted to get a new job, that laughter fueled me to get a new job. So here's what happened the beginning of June. At this point, he's completely bedridden. When I say completely bedridden, what I mean is, I'm trying to clarify this so it makes sense. From what I see, he is going to work, but he's calling out a lot more. Okay. So he had already left the condiment company and was working for Apple. So he's calling out quite a bit because the pain is pretty bad. So he's hardly eating at this point, hardly. For example, if I were to say, oh, I ordered a 10-piece wings, he's eating 2. And that's it. That's all I would see him eat. Well, I was going to work and coming home. The house was in the exact same place that it was when I left. Nothing in the kitchen had been moved. Nothing in the refrigerator had been moved, which led me to believe that he had not left the bed from the time I left to go to work until the time I came home. At this point in time, he's drinking Powerades like it's water. I mean, I'm buying cases of Powerades. And that seemed to be the only thing that he was taking in. So if he was a 3X when I met him, he's probably at a 1X, maybe a 2X, depending on the clothes. He's lost a lot of weight because he's not eating. So that's the reason why I say he wasn't faking whatever was going on. I think the issue with his knee was a symptom. That was not some football injury. That was not, I hit it at work. It wasn't that. Something else was going on. I had kept asking him to, let me know when you have a doctor's appointment. I'm going to go with you. And he just kept saying the doctor, he's calling the doctor, and the doctor told him to just keep icing the knee. But I knew better. What was happening was I didn't care because of all the stuff I was finding out. So beginning of June, he is in the bed, sleep, and I get his phone. I ain't gonna lie. I got his phone. He had a work phone and he had a personal phone. It was the work phone that he had from the condiment company that apparently was never turned in. Follow me. It'll all come out. So he still had the work phone. It was deactivated. But he did not wipe the phone, if y'all know what I mean. Take all the data off. He did not do that. So I looked through the phone and I see this would have been text messages. Text messages between him and a woman named Peaches. I go back to the beginning of the text messages. This is on the work phone. This is the beginning of June of 2021. I go back to the text messages the beginning of the text messages between him and Peaches. Yes, that was her name, Peaches. I'm reading the thread because he's knocked out sleep. So I'm in the bathroom with the door locked, reading the thread. And what I can tell is that he met Peaches on POF. If you don't know what POF is, it is Plenty of Fish, a dating website. He met Peaches. I saw the messages in June, so he met Peaches around February. Met Peaches from POF. And Apparently Peaches was, there's no nice way to say it. Apparently Peaches was a prostitute. So the reason why I say that is because in the text messages, she's listing the prices. So he asked for a hand job. This is in the text messages. She told him it would be like $40. He asked how much would it be for oral. She said it would be $60, because it was $60 and $80. One was the price with the condom, one was the price without one. So no messages after that. She sent a picture, he sent a picture. No messages after that. So in other words, these messages were not back to back every single day. There's breaks in between the messages. So like a message was in March, the next message is in April. A message in April, next message is like 2 weeks later. So he's asking her the prices. Next message I see would have been from a few weeks prior to the date of this. So this was the beginning of June. The message is from sometime beginning of May, where he is thanking her and says to her, thank you so much. That was really great. I hope I can see you again. Then there's messages where she said, hey, basically she was at a new spot. She must have moved. So he said, okay, I'm going to come through. I'm going to come see you. He's asking her to confirm the address. He was like, is it the house with the brown trash can with a white car in the front? She says, yes. So I'm thinking he was actually in front of the house when he's texting these messages. Then again, he does whatever he does, and he sends her a message a few hours later saying, thank you. That was great. I'm reading all this. And I will tell you guys something that you may or may not understand. Some women may or may not understand it. The cheating didn't even faze me. Didn't even faze me. I didn't cry. I did not feel like, what did I do wrong? I was relieved. The reason why I was relieved is because up until this point, I kind of struggled a little bit on whether or not, God, I know, Lord, you hate divorce, but I can't stay with a guy that lies. So when I saw the cheating stuff, I was like, oh shoot, thank you, Jesus. Okay. Cause I know my Father in heaven's going to forgive the fact that I'm going to divorce him for infidelity. Go ahead. It's fine. Jesus will forgive me. So I was relieved, to be honest with you. Like, oh, okay. I got grounds now, bitch. That's how I felt. So saw the messages, forwarded the messages to my phone. Or excuse me, I had to take my phone because the phone was deactivated. So I kind of had to do a little ghetto. Hold the phone up, take my phone, and take pictures of what I see on the phone, so that I would have proof on my phone. Then I put the phone back and continued on. Now